Just waiting for a little thingy to come up. All righty, welcome once again to another session of The Doctors Are In. And guess what? It is the last one for 2023. Can you imagine? It's been a year already. Oh my God, it is crazy. I cannot believe that a year has passed by already. In any case, on behalf of It Takes a Village Ministry, my name is Dr. Michelle Gamble. I welcome you to our virtual community health clinic. The Doctors Are In. We are here to serve you. We are here to address any health concern that you have, and we look forward to being able to give you different perspectives on how to approach various things that you may be dealing with. So, in the future, you can always be sure that you can, if you're not able to be here with us in person, you can always send me an email message with any question or any concern that you may have, and we will definitely do our best to incorporate it into the next session, whenever that is. In any case, we always start with those of us who are here present, and then we go to questions that are sent in to me. First and foremost, I want to once again welcome Dr. Huante from Mexico. ¿Cómo estás?
Fine, thank you. Grateful and excited to be here with you today.
Feliz Navidad.
Merry Christmas.
And also, we are wonderfully blessed with Tanya Kell. She is one of the homeopaths from the Northeast. Am I right?
We're called the North American Society of Homeopaths. So this is the professional organization. If you consider yourself a homeopath first, then we're kind of your home.
Awesome. So we've got two homeopaths with us online today, and hopefully we'll have some. I know we had our other naturopath, but they had another engagement, so they're not going to be able to join us. So you're stuck with me, guys. But anyway, we will do the best that we can to serve you. In any case, do we have any questions from those of you who are here with us presently? You can either type the question into the chat, or you can go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask whatever question you have to ask.
It is Tanja. Permission to ask my question, please?
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. I went on a trip in October, and as the plane was landing, I had this really serious pain in my ear. And I went to the chiropractor in October, and I had an adjustment done, a very aggressive adjustment on my neck, where he actually, I could feel like one of the vertebrae was out of a line, and he put it in place. So I did that, no neck pain. Now I have this ringing in my ear since about the middle of October that is about to drive me nuts. And I've gone to the doctor. I did a round of antibiotics. They had me to do the saline nasal spray, and I did the Flonase. But yesterday, as I was sitting on the toilet, bearing down, my ear, the right one still kind of popped again. And so what can I do to relieve myself from these bells that's going on in my head?
Who wants to start?
Go ahead, Tanya.
Right. Well, since both of us are homeopaths, you're going to get a very similar answer, I believe. There might be some nuanced differences, but you have to look at first your total health in context, right? Because this ear thing happened in the context of your general susceptibilities, and the airplane was just the trigger for a point in your body that was not at full functioning. So we can try to take what we call a small totality and just take the symptoms of the ear and try to treat that homeopathically. Or if that doesn't work because it's happening in the larger context of your overall health, then the homeopath would need to do a full evaluation and know all about you and all of the symptoms in your whole body, as well as your personality profile and your family medical history. Is there anything you would like to add to that? Because there are, remedies that have an affinity for the ear and congestion in the ear. Have you had it looked at? Is there fluid in there?
So there is fluid. One side of my face stays clogged up all the time. With that being said, while I was actually in Las Vegas in October, I did have like a lot of yellow rhinitis come out. And during the same time while I was in Las Vegas, before I went, like 5 days before I left, I spent the day with my mother and father, and they both tested positive for COVID, which I've already been past that. So I've stayed away from dairy and eggs and cheese and all of the foods that I consider triggers. But for whatever reason, I still cannot seem to get this ear thing under control. And this is something that's new, that have recently come up.
Did you test positive for COVID at any point around when this ear thing happened or the rhinitis happened?
I did not get tested for COVID because the only symptoms I had was like a sinus infection.
Mm-hmm.
I have had COVID, and I had COVID in 2020, and I was vaccinated in December 2020 and January 2021. And since then, I have not been tested for COVID again.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because we're all aware that the vaccine doesn't really prevent infection or transmission of COVID. So even though you've had the vaccine, it's still quite possible that it'll come through again. And currently, the symptoms we're seeing of COVID are sinus most of the time, and then a lingering cough afterwards. So it's a possibility that that's what it was. It doesn't really matter. What we're going to go on is your symptoms. And I have a question whether it is part of this context to give potential recommendations, or are we pointing people to go see a professional if they
Well,
think homeopathy is a good option?
If you have a general recommendation that would suit this kind of symptomology, and we all know that one of the disclaimers that you saw when you were logging in, a medical disclaimer, which says that this isn't for educational purposes only, and we are encouraging you to connect with your healthcare provider to review any and all suggestions that we may have during this show.
Right.
That being said, Tanya, please feel free. What comes to mind for you?
Okay, so there is a homeopathic medicine. It's made of minerals, potassium chloride. The Latin name is Kali muriaticum, spelled Kali, and the second word is Muriaticum. And it's easily available on Amazon. And all of the potassium remedies have been useful in sinus and ear congestion. That's one of their areas of affinity. They're used for many things. Homeopathy does not have a this for that. Like I said, we go with a complex of symptoms and triggers. And so this is just a potential support for you, given the information that we've received here today. So the thing about homeopathy is that it's safe. And so if you are prudent and judicious in your use, you can test it out and see how you feel about it. If it doesn't help, then you stop taking it. And if it does help, you take it until your symptoms are significantly improved, and then you stop. If it helps and then everything comes back, it means there's something missing from the information we gathered and our analysis of what's going on. And you absolutely will need the advice of a professional who can take that full history, like I said. But I think you could safely, if you are in generally good health, take a few doses of Kali muriaticum and see how that affects the fluid in your ear.
Dr. Ali?
Okay, so that was for the physical part, which is excellent. But I will also address for the emotional part, which is very important for me to treat on the patients and for the patients to check what's going on them. So you told us it was on your right ear, right?
So originally it was both ears. As the plane was landing, we had to do a plane change in Texas. And as the plane was landing in Texas, I had the most horrible pain ever. Like I had ice picks in each ear. So after getting a round of antibiotics, which I think was amoxicillin, and I did the Flonase nasal spray, which I did not want to do, but I did that for like 7 days. And then I went back to my saline, which I've done for years. I felt fine until 2 days ago. I think it was Sunday or Monday. I had the same sharp pain, but this time it was only in the right ear. Now I am having issues with the tooth on the right side, which I plan on having pulled, which they say it's not infected, but they say that the root canal may have failed and the tooth still has, this tooth may have a crack in it. So I'm going to have the tooth pulled, but I say that this is separate from that, even though I know that it is there, but this is something I fly at least 3 or 4 times a year. And this is something that's I've never experienced with the plane landing. It was excruciating.
Okay. So when you tell me that now it just started on the right side is always joined to a male that around us that is like causing that. So maybe I would ask you, what if your husband or one of your sons of a male around you is telling you something that maybe is hurting you to listen. So you don't want to listen something someone is telling you because it's really hurting you physically and emotionally, or what you don't want to hear from a male around you. So that's something for you to check, to ask yourself, and also with the remedy that Tanya told you will help you, because it's not just a physical symptom. We are a whole, and we have to treat us like a whole, not just the ear, everything. So I would check on that part. What is really hurting you to listen? Okay.
I recently lost my father.
There you go.
Yeah, I recently lost my father, and it's been very, very difficult. Even though he left us on his terms, it was his choice, and he had everything planned out, and we were ready. I had 9 years to prepare, but you're not ever really prepared. So I've recently lost him, and I've just noticed like I just have this pain constantly in my neck and everything all the time. So you're right, there is something emotional that is attached to it.
Right. And maybe you can also treat the grief. I don't know if you have been on counseling, on therapy, but you also have to treat your grief. Okay, that's very, very important.
Oh, thank you very much.
Anytime.
You know, and when we're looking at all of these things holistically, one of the things that I heard in what you were saying was that you've also been treating it with antibiotics. And so, you know, all of those antibiotics are going to, of course, affect your gut. Were you able to replenish that with probiotics?
So I still have the probiotic regimen that we went through 2 years ago, but I have been eating more of a plant-based diet. So I've been off the antibiotics for 10 days, and I did not have any disruption in my I guess in my regimen, as far as the antibiotics upsetting my stomach or causing me to have any diarrhea or anything. So I've been off the antibiotics. I started taking them the day after Thanksgiving, and I did 7 days. So I've been done with the antibiotics. So I'm, as far as that, I'm good. And I found a vegan restaurant here that I have been frequenting very often, getting their meals. So from
Well,
that,
when we're looking at rebalancing the gut, especially when there has been an onslaught of antibiotics, there's really a need to, I guess you can say, pump up the volume in terms of replenishing the gut bacteria, because we want to make sure that we repopulate or recolonize the gut as effectively and as quickly as possible. So that's one thing to consider. And
okay,
even when we're looking at plant-based diets, unless you're really incorporating things like fermented foods and raw foods, they're not going to really jumpstart the gut as much as you would want them to jumpstart. And now the other thing to consider is when we're looking at the teeth, a lot of times people don't realize that your teeth can impact your health tremendously. So if you say that you have a cracked tooth, there is that possibility, and root canal, there is that possibility that that area has become infected. And as you know, the tooth or your mouth is very close in proximity to the nasal passages. And so if you've had any kind of infection in that area, it is very possible that that infection can also migrate to the nasal cavities. So now, in addition to doing an ordinary saline flush, with like a neti pot or something of that nature, what you can add to the saline is iodine, and or you can add an essential oil called On Guard. And those things will help to further clear out the nasal passages and to also gargle. So, that bacteria could be lingering in the back area of your throat, coming from the infection in the tooth, and it could also be in the nasal cavities. So gargling with the saline solution with iodine. And you can always look online. They'll have this information. If you look specifically at flcc.org, they will have the recommendations for the titration for the iodine for the nasal flush. And you can use that same titration for doing gargling. And then the other thing to keep in mind, as Dr. Huante was saying, is looking at the heart space. And as you are going through the holidays, and this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to make sure that we had our doctors are in today, because we are entering into the holidays, and the holidays can be a little bit challenging for those of us who have lost someone that is dear to our hearts. The holidays is when you'll remember those special moments that you spent as a family. And at that time, what I would love for you to do is to allow yourself, like Dr. Huante said, to grieve. Allow yourself to remember. Allow yourself to seat yourself in that energy. And so what I'd like for all of us to do for just a moment is to become comfortable wherever we are. And if you are comfortable in doing so, if you are safe in doing so, to close your outer eyes and to turn your vision inward. And perhaps to even put your hands on your heart center and to take a deep cleansing breath in. And breathe out. And take another deep cleansing breath in. And breathe out. And we're going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out. 2, 3, 4. Breathing in. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Breathing in. And out. Breathing in. And out. Breathing in. Breathing in. As we remember those who have departed, we know in our hearts, we know in our soul, we know in our entirety of our being that they are with us. We remember their presence and we are grateful for having them in our lives. And so our hearts are with you, my dear Tanja, as you remember the love that you have for your father.
Thank you.
And we bless him.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gamble.
You're very welcome, my love. So any other question for us tonight? Well, we had one that was sent in to us, and I'm going to throw it out there and see if you guys. So we had a question from a woman who said that she had recently gone into her primary care doctor, and she had her pap smear done, and they came back and said that the pap smear had what did she say? A showing of a trace of HPV, and she was curious as to what her options were.
Well, HPV is very common. Almost most of the time, the immune system overcomes it. So the fact that she had a trace means her body is working, and probably next time she goes back to be tested, there won't be any there. So I would actually not do anything other than general immune boosting stuff. All the nutritional things we know, juicing, fresh food, yoga, exercise, lymphatic, drainage or massage, any other suggestions you guys have. I wouldn't treat it medically. I would treat it hygienically with supporting the immune system, which seems to be doing its function properly.
Dr. Huante?
Yeah, I would do the same. If she doesn't have like any symptoms or anything there, and like any physical sign of the virus, I shouldn't do anything.
Mhm.
But eat well, exercise, take sun, be happy, enjoy life.
Awesome. And you know what I love about you guys is that there's always that complete belief in the healing power of the body to recuperate without feeling that we've got to medicate and do something to do something. You know, sometimes it's like I've been to several different spaces where they're just doing something to do something, you know, instead of saying, you know what, let's take a chill pill and just, you know, let the body do its thing and, you know, support the body in its process. One of the things that I always suggest to people is get yourself one of those urine test kits. You know, it's a dipstick, the same little dipstick that you get when you go to the doctor and they have you pee in a cup. Well, what you may not realize is that all they're doing is taking a little strip called a chem strip that has several different reagents that will test your urine to see if there is an active infection. And so one of the things that you will look on that strip for is what's called leukocytes, you know. And so if you have a significant increase in leukocytes, then you know that you have an active infection where the body is dealing with something. And so the same thing with you, Tanja. I'm sure when you've done your lab work, you've probably had them do a white blood cell count to see how the body is dealing with whether it be a virus or bacteria, you know. And if you have an elevation in white blood cell, then that means your immune system is good. It's doing something. It's actively engaged in the fight. If you have your white blood cells and it's like really low, it's below what we would want it to be, then that's saying that you've been dealing with something that is quote unquote chronic. And you know, it's like the war has been dragging out and now the troops are kind of low. So that's something that's really significant that you would want to definitely look at boosting the immune system. And there are lots of different things to use to boosting the immune system, depending on what type of infection that you're dealing with, et cetera, et cetera. But what I would like to do is to emphasize something that Dr. Huante was pointing out before in the earlier question, which is to really look at your life in terms of the various things that may be depleting you energetically, you know? So if you are overworking, if you are not getting enough sleep, if you are dealing with relationships that are not going well, you know, especially when we're looking at something like HPV, which means that we're dealing with the sexual organs of the body in this case. And so you definitely want to look at where are your relationships, you know, what kind of energy is being communicating back and forth between you and your husband or your boyfriend or whatever it is. Because our bodies respond to our energies with other people. And if we are being depleted as opposed to built up in that relationship, then it starts to weaken our immune system. So I'm always curious when I work with people, I'm always curious as to where it is that the imbalance is manifesting. So the same way that you were looking at it, Dr. Huante, before, and you were saying, well, the right side, you know, is relating to relationships, you know, again, where is this weakness coming forth? If it's coming forth in the reproductive system, then I would definitely check on where your relationships are and or where your creative energy is. Because again, your womb, which is connected to the vaginal area, is the zone of creativity. So to really start to do a meditation on that and see why is the body having to go into overdrive to defend itself in that particular area? Is there something that is sabotaging your creative force? Is there something that is sabotaging your intimate relationship that is manifesting, quote unquote, in that way? Just a thought.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, things aren't random. We're not victims that need to kill the invaders. There's a context, there's a story, there's a learning lesson, there's a growth, there's an evolution. So really learning to pay attention to things that society tells us aren't important, aren't related, don't need to be talked about. It's exercising a muscle, and it takes a while to tune into the body and to really see how the subtleties around us have profound effects on us. And the body speaks back by giving us a symptom or a sensation or a function that isn't as we would like it to be.
Is that I find that very interesting because I've lost four family members this year. I lost my baby sister in January. I lost an uncle in August. I lost my father in November, and then a week later, I lost an aunt. And the last two, my father and the aunt, I was very involved with the medical part and the decision making of the end of life stuff, and helping people understand the pathophysiology and what was going on with the body. And in my mind, I told myself that I was there with my father and I did things with him before he died. And I have not allowed myself a grieving period. I went back to work and we buried him on a Thursday and I returned to work that Monday. And now that I'm looking at it, I realized that I have not allowed myself a grieving period because I am the strong one that everybody have relied on.
I think we could say that about everyone in this group, that we demonstrate our love through service.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, but it's okay if you're not strong sometimes. We all need our periods to cry, to grieve, to laugh, to sleep, to rest, to everything. Mm-hmm. And you can't allow yourself, you can give permission to yourself to grieve and to feel weak, but because you're not really weak. I mean, we work enough in our feelings, in our hearts, in our bodies, in our family, in our whatever, in our everything. So we're never weak, and you don't have to look at yourself like if you're weak just because you need to grieve. It's very important to grieve. So don't see it as a weakness, but as a strength. You're strong enough to cry it out. You're strong enough to feel your feelings, to embrace the sadness, to embrace your loss. So don't look at it as a weakness. It is a strength. So you just need to change your point of view.
And to further elaborate on what you're saying, Dr. Ali, really and truly, crying is part of the healing process. Technically speaking, not just emotionally speaking, but our body uses our tears as a form of detoxification. And I don't know if you've realized that after you cry, you're able to release the endorphins that are able to soothe and to rebalance your hormones, rebalance your energetic self. You know, also crying helps you to, you know, if you're really, really boo-hoo, like wailing crying, it helps to shake things up in the lung area. You know, we were talking about, you know, that connection with the nasal cavity and the entire respiratory system. So that crying helps to break things up in the lung area. It also helps to activate the vagal nerve. And the vagal nerve is connected to practically every different system in the body. You'll notice that it may even impact your digestive system, because if we look at Chinese medicine and we look at grief, we look at the lungs, and the lungs are also connected to the gut. So that was another reason why I was encouraging you to consider giving the body a little bit of assistance with the probiotics, because again, your probiotics will help you with your neurotransmitters. And so everything is connected. But as Dr. Ali said, we need to really reframe the grieving process in our society and recognize that it's a necessary, in fact, it's a required part of the healing process. And as we let go, we're able to receive the nourishment that we need to move on to the next stage in our lives.
Thank you very much. I did receive a really nice book, and it's called it's called something, I can't even think of the name of it, but it's a book about grief. It was from my job. It was actually beautiful. And I took it out. I took some pictures of it. And on a couple of the pages, you could do like your family tree. And then it talked about the death of a parent or whatever. Then you take the book out the leather case, and there's a little pocket in the back to put the obituary. Well, I did all that and I packed it away because it was too much for me. So now, after talking to you, I realized that I have to work tomorrow. Then I have some days off from work to take care of my tooth and everything. But I need to get the book out, and I need to read it, and I need to go through the grieving process and not just try to suppress it and say, oh, I already knew this was coming and I don't have to do anything, because I do. I understand that I do now.
And, to facilitate that, to light a candle, to have a picture of that loved one, and to breathe and to use a beautiful essential oil that would help with that is jasmine.
Okay.
Jasmine and adaptive, So as you have that candle, as you have that book, maybe you have some music that you and your dad enjoyed together. You have his picture.
The music is the triggers. The music is the most triggers.
Have a party and celebrate with him. Celebrate with him.
I will. I'm going to see Mom Saturday. That's going to be very helpful also.
Yes, definitely, to help her as she moves through that process also.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up 2023, I'm going to ask each of us to do a round robin and to talk about 23 in terms of what was the most enlightening lesson or event that occurred to you in 23 and what you are looking forward to in 24. And that includes everyone on this call. So everyone who wants to jump in.
I can go first.
Go ahead.
So this year, I could finally finish my house, my dream house where I'm living right now. And it taught me about patience, because it took like a year more and a lot of money more and a lot more to figure it out and to manifest it finally. And it also taught me that every people that comes to your life, it's exactly the people you need to meet, like the construction crew you needed to have, and the electrician you needed, and everyone that took part of this project was important for the process, not just for the building, but the whole process, my learning process, my family learning process. and and looking forward for a new community here and helping more people. And I'm looking to make a consciousness school. So let's see how that works.
So what are you looking forward to in 24?
For the School of Consciousness here at San Miguel.
Nice. Is it going to be a brick and mortar school or a virtual school or both?
No, we want to do it like physical and with a lot of things, not only health, but also to look new forms of economics with without money, more like exchange things.
At time
And
banking.
yeah, exactly. And to help the community itself.
Awesome. Awesome. All righty. Who'd like to go next?
I'll go next. I
Awesome.
think the big learning lesson for this year was that you can never predict ahead of time how you will be received and what people will take away from your offering, and that it's a complete waste of time to try to figure it out. Took me a long time to learn that, but that all you can do is be authentic and be open and say yes, but you can't guess what's going to happen and how people are going to feel and how they were going to react. And so you just have to be ready to pivot and to adapt and to engage. And so I'm in the next year, I'm looking forward to more engagement and more authentically putting what I think I have to offer out there and seeing what comes of it.
Yay. Awesome. Tanja?
Well, I guess for myself, what I learned this year is to live in the moment and not to take anything for granted, because at any moment in time, the things that we took for granted can be taken away from us, or we don't have the opportunity to settle things or settle situations. We can't sleep on those things. We have to address it, feel it, and move forward. And if there's nothing else that I remembered about my father, was that regardless of what was happening, he always was calm, and he always tried to enjoy every moment that he had left on this earth with my mom. And so that's what I have learned throughout the past couple of years, is patience and love and understanding, because you don't ever know when it's going to be your last day. What I am looking forward to in 2024 is prioritizing my health and prioritizing the things that's going to make me whole. And we know with all the outside things that we face, no one can be really whole, but the things, as much as I can control that can make me whole, to control those, and to let go of the things that I cannot control, and to be happy from there, and make sure I stay in touch with my homeopathic doctor and don't let years go by like I did from one decade to the next before I see her again. Yay.
Awesome. I tell you, my greatest lesson this year is reminding or being reminded of the power of community and the importance of community. You know, some of you will recall that we had stopped doing The Doctors Are In for some time. And then it came back to me that even if only one person comes on, that is significant. We have created that special space and that special sanctuary for someone. A lot of times we get so overwhelmed with all the craziness that is happening in our world, and we feel powerless. We feel hopeless. We feel like, well, what can I do? And we forget that the most important thing is to just be there for the one person that you meet in the parking lot of Walmart with a smile, the one person that you engage in as you are getting ready to board a plane, or maybe sitting down next to that person on the plane. You have no idea of how much people are looking for connection. And I truly believe that is the greatest medicine. Not the 50 million different herbs and the potions. And I mean, all of those are wonderful, but I truly believe that the greatest medicine that we can give to each other is connection. As we go into 2024, my passion has been revitalized with the understanding that we are going to build bigger and more communities throughout the world. We are going to be the little candles that are spreading out, and each of us is a candle that can light countless other candles. And each candle that we light can in turn light another candle. And the importance of that light is that it serves as a reminder that you are not alone in the dark. It serves as a beacon that helps to guide people to each other. And it serves as a way of being able to see the things that often sabotage us. And those things that sabotage us are the illusion of division, the illusion of differences, the illusion of separateness. What I tell people all the time is if we take the word alone, we have that illusion that we are alone. So if we take the word alone and take the first letter of the word love, which is L, and we put it there in the middle of alone, and that one letter, the love, turns alone into all one. We are all one. Whatever we perceive as being, Black, white, Democrat, Republican, rich, poor, those are all illusions. They are falsehoods. The reality is that we are all one. And when we function with that in mind, miraculous things can occur. Beautiful things can occur. And that is when true healing occurs. Whether it be all of the cells in our body functioning together and humming together as one, or it be all of us. My son recently gave me this wonderful image. He said to me, "Mom, what if all of us are like cells in this huge, giant creature?" And I thought about that. And I said, what if? What if?
Interesting. I'll
What
probably
if,
be the cell over there doing whatever it wanted to do and not cooperating with the other ones.
maybe some of us are the liver cells, and some of us are the kidney cells, and some of us are the nerve cells. What if we have this illusion that we are separate entities, but we're all part of this one giant being? To think about.
We are all part of this giant universe. So yes, we are cells of this universe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the sooner we recognize that we are all one, and in our own little way, in our own location, in our own wherever it is, to just bring forth that energy, to remind people. And the way that we remind people is by living our lives with that in mind, living our lives with that theme that says we are all one. Everything else is complete falsehood. It is not real. So we are going to say happy holidays to everyone. And a happy new year. We will see you in January 2024. And I pray for you and your loved ones that you may be filled with peace and blessings from this day forth.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All righty. Yeah.
Happy holidays
Everybody.
to all of you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Dr. Gamble.
Bye.